I want to first start this video by congratulating the Columbus Crew of winning MLS Cup 2020. And despite the fact that this has been a difficult year and that I even did a video talking about whoever wins MLS Cup this year, should they get an asterisk to their name after they win this MLS Cup and win this game? Well, after tonight, it is pretty clear. The answer to that is that the winner of this MLS Cup is not going to get an asterisk. And in many ways, you would say that they even deserve to win MLS Cup, and that the Columbus Crew, with the way that they have to deal with this season, and especially in the playoffs of them battling a COVID outbreak and still somehow able to make their way to MLS Cup and even winning it despite the fact that they had a couple key players missing in their team, just to show how much of a character this Crew team is, and just kind of show a championship mentality of a team that the Columbus Crew did in this game. But that being said, another thing that I also want to say in this game is that this is also why I said back in the preview, where you know how I talked about how some people say, well, the Crew have no chance whatsoever because they're missing two of their biggest starters in their team, and the fact that some even go as far as prematurely congratulating the Seattle Sounders of winning MLS Cup. Well, guess what? Those same people after this game, they're definitely in the mud, because this is why you play the game, and that this is why you should never make any judgment before the game has even kicked off, and that, as cliche as this might sound, in a cup final, anything can happen. Like, in a cup final, it doesn't really matter who is the favorites coming into this game or who has the better team coming into this cup final. It is all about who can be able to perform better and who is able to score the goals in this game. And in this one, despite the fact that I thought both of these teams had equal amount of chances to put the ball into the back of the net, the Columbus Crew were the more clinical side, while the Sounders, they just couldn't find their shooting boots in this game. And I also want to say that this was the Lucas Zalarian MLS Cup show. I mean, I also said before how I'm actually watching them lifting the trophy right now, and hopefully later on they'll review who is the MLS Cup MVP. Well, I don't even need to wait till that, because I'm pretty sure Lucas Zalarian is going to win MVP, especially he basically did nothing wrong in this game, and he was pretty much close, or not even, I wouldn't even say close to perfection, but he played a perfect game, and he played just what a number 10 would usually do in such a big game like this, which is basically score key goals and also be a playmaker throughout this game. Now, going back to this game, and as I mentioned before, both Pedro Santos and Darlington Nagbe was out for this game because they were not medically clear to play in this game. Or another way to saying this is that they got tested positive for COVID-19, and unfortunately they're not going to be available in this game. So they were replaced by Etienne and Aiden Morris, and I gotta say, both of these guys that were in this game, they really stepped into this game very well, especially Aiden Morris, who, I found out that he was actually the youngest player ever play in MLS Cup, and usually when you see young guys playing in MLS Cup for the very first time, there's definitely a lot of nerves that this kid must be dealing with. But the way that he played throughout this game, I thought it almost felt like he was a veteran player. It almost felt like he was treating this game like any other game, because the calmness that he had throughout this game and doing the dirty work of what Nagbe usually do for this team, it was kind of surprised to see how good he was in this game. But at the same time, that's also another reason why I thought throughout the first half, coming into this game, I was thinking, well, without Nagbe in this team, can the Crew continue to control the game? Well, in the first half, the answer, of course, was yes, because they really dominated the first half against the Seattle Sounders. But that being said, for the first 5 minutes in this game, and also, by the way, the Sounders, they decided to go with the same starting 11 in this game as they did for the conference final. But for the first 5 minutes, I thought it was a lively start for both of these teams, and this was kind of one of those games where usually when you see a cup final, as I said before, things usually does kind of get a little bit tense early. That was not the case in this game. I mean, it was a fast-paced kind of game, and both teams had chances to get the opening goal. But as the game kind of continued, and after 15 minutes, I started to see Columbus look like they were by far the better team. And the Sounders, they just look like they were second best and slow whenever they go on the attack. Now, Stephen Fry in the 16th minute made probably the first big save and probably the first big moment of this game as he absolutely robbed Jarzy Zardes, who basically rocketed a point blank range shot that I think, unfortunately, he basically just hit it right to Stephen Fry. And, Fry, even though I know that was an incredible save by him, I think that was more of Zardes kind of just hit straight toward him, and Fry just had some cat-like reflexes to basically deny the Crew of getting the opening goal. But then, on the other end, Jordan Morris missed wide from long range, and missing wide for the Sounders, especially from their attackers, is pretty much going to be the theme throughout this game. Then, 8 minutes later, we got ourselves the first goal of this MLS Cup, and it's Lucas Zayarian that scores from Harrison Atfield to give the Crew a 1-0 lead. Before just 6 minutes later, the Crew would double that lead, and it's Etienne that scores from Zayarian to make it 2-0 in favor of the Columbus Crew. And you just see that the Crew, they were definitely full of confidence throughout this game, and that they almost had a chance to make it 3-0 when Luis Diaz just missed wide from about 12 yards out after there was a giveaway in the midfield by the Sounders. And, as soon as the Crew also went up 2-0, I thought not only the fact that the Sounders looked slow, but the midfield was getting absolutely overrun, and they were just giving they were committing bad giveaway in the midfield, and that the defense was also really slow to react. But the good news for the Sounders is at least they ride the ship enough to just go into halftime with a 2-0 deficit. And even though, the Crew has a 2-0 lead in this game, obviously I'm pretty sure no one thinks that this game is over. I mean, after what happened in the conference final, nobody's going to bet against the Sounders, the fact that they cannot do it again like they did in the conference final, and that is come back from a 2-0 deficit. And in the second half, they definitely show signs that they were looking to get that goal back very quickly, and that they were putting waves after waves of attack on the Columbus Crew. First, in the 47th minute, it was actually the Crew almost gifted the Sounders a goal to get back into this game when Harrison Afful almost scored an own goal when he was trying to clear the ball away, and I guess he kind of misclears it, and fortunately it just went behind for a corner. Then Eloy Roan was able to deny Rodon as the Sounders was really looking to get back into this game before Smith only gets, or actually before we talk about that, in the 51st minute, Rodon basically missed high on a free header from a corner, but that's also not before there was a little bit of a controversy about how Smith only gets a yellow card despite the fact that he did shove Afful onto the ground. Now, I think Harrison Afful did kind of play act a little bit, because when Smith did make some contact toward him, it looks like his feet was already up in the air, and he was basically just trying to maybe play act a little bit so that he can maybe draw a yellow or even a red card. But that being said, one thing that was a little bit alarming in terms of this foul that Brad Smith did is that he did use his hands in the face of an opponent, and we see before in this league, and that the league has this really strict policy about you just cannot put your hands in the face of the opponent, and if you do, you are definitely risking yourself of potentially getting a red card. Now, as I also said before, since we are in the playoffs, and especially in a cup final like this, I'm pretty sure referee will be a little bit more lenient toward this rule, and hence this is why Brad Smith only gets away with a yellow card. Because if this wasn't in the regular season, I think Smith would have been in trouble, and that he probably would have got a red card in terms of that. But either way, that was a little bit of a controversial moment in this game, and again, after that, Rodon basically missed high from a header from a corner, and that I also thought Columbus, they were really having a tough time in terms of trying to hold on to possession, and they were really getting pinned back, and that they just it just feels like, unless if they can of course ride this Sounders attack that is just coming wave after wave at them and ride the storm out, the Sounders eventually is going to get that goal, and that could be a very interesting last 30 minutes of this game. But that being said, the Crew did eventually ride that storm out, and that they actually had a decent chances to make it 3-0, and it was Luis Diaz again had a chance to make it 3-0, but unfortunately he missed just wide after a lightning counterattack from the Columbus Crew. Then Valenzuela hit the side netting, and that you can see Columbus was starting to get their rhythm again, and that they looked like the team that played very well in the first half of this game. But that being said, Seattle was also trying to get one back and trying to make this a game again. Ladero basically hits it wide from close range and in the traffic in the 71st minute before Gustav Svensson almost scored a very similar goal that basically broke my heart after him scoring that third and what would be the winning goal to complete a miraculous comeback between the Sounders and the Loons on Monday. But unfortunately this time he just hits it a little bit high. But at the same time, I was also thinking, well, we're getting to that point of the period where the Sounders got to eventually find this goal. Like, I'm was tempting to write the fact that is this just one of those games where the Sounders are just missing all these chances and it's just not going to be their night. And that the dangers of me writing that is that we saw what the Sounders did in the last game, and that they can, it only takes for them to get one. And if they can get one goal back in this game, yeah, this is going to be a very interesting last couple of minutes, and that I wouldn't bet against the Sounders potentially getting another one in quick succession. But at the same time, they need to get that one, and they were running out of time in terms of getting that goal to really spark the comeback, and that if they're going to do that, they have to, of course, finish their chance soon. And in the 79th minute, they had another big opportunity, but this time it was Eloy Room that was able to rob Jordan Morris on a looping header. And you know what that moment kind of reminds me of? Remember in 2016 in that MLS Cup when the Sounders play against TFC, and how Stephen Fry made an incredible save after, I believe it was Josie Altidore, basically hits a looping header from a corner, and that, again, Fry made an incredible save on that. That looked something very similar to that, and the irony about that is that it's the Sounders this time that basically had a taste of their own medicine of what happened when a team is able to rob them of a big opportunity to potentially score a goal. And by the way, not only Room was able to deny Morris from that looping header, he actually got fingertips onto that one and pushed it onto the post, and no doubt that was probably the closest chance that the Sounders had in this game out of all those chances that they just missed high in this game. But then just 2 minutes later, Zairian basically said goodnight everybody, because the Columbus Crew is going to win this MLS Cup, as he would score an absolute golazo from Luis Diaz to make it 3-0 in this game. Then Ruidíaz basically hits it high from close range in the 84th minute, and at that point, that basically is just enough for me to say that, yeah, this is going to be one of those nights for the Sounders, that just nothing that they try to hit toward the Columbus goal is going to go in, and that it also kind of just sums up in terms of the finishing for the Sounders in this game. They just could not find their shooting boots whatsoever in this one. Then 4 minutes later, Zardes almost at the cherry on the top after he, of course, went through on goal but couldn't quite put away. Zardes was actually very quiet in this game, and, in the preview, I said that, knowing the fact that Santos is not going to be in this game, Zairian and Zardes would really need to step up in terms of the goal scoring. While Zardes didn't really quite stepped up in terms of the goal scoring department, and he had a relatively quiet night, Zairian absolutely did, and he basically just stole the show, and pretty much he was carrying the Columbus Crew attack on his back and basically contributing all three of the goals that the Crew would be able to score in this game. But yeah, there you have it. That is pretty much really the final action of this game, as in the end, the shots in this one, 15 shots compared to 13 that the Sounders had, 5 shots on goal compared to 2 that the Sounders had, 5 shots off target compared to 9 that the Sounders had, 5 shots that was blocked compared to 2 that the Sounders had, and possession-wise, 35% possession compared to 65% possession that the Seattle Sounders had. And again, congratulations to the Columbus Crew winning MLS Cup in 2020, and definitely well-deserved of winning MLS Cup, after what happened happened this season and also in the playoffs, and really also what just happened in the past couple of years, where this team was literally on the verge of moving to Austin a couple of years ago, and we will never forget the whole Save the Crew campaign to keep this team in Columbus, and it almost felt like it was just kind of a Hollywood scripted ending and kind of a fairy tale ending. The fact that just a couple of years later they would get themselves winning MLS Cup in tonight, and yeah, there you have it. That is pretty much it for the review of this game, and also for the Seattle Sounders. You know, I know they're going to be frustrated coming out of this game, as this was really a big opportunity to win back-to-back titles and really kind of cement their legacy of being one of the best dynasty we have ever seen in MLS history. But at the end of the day, you know, the Sounders, this is definitely a team that I think, as long as they keep most of their team heading into next year, and even maybe adding some more pieces, this is going to be a Sounders team that's going to continue to be back in this stage. Like, they've been back in this stage pretty much almost every single year, and I wouldn't bet that heading into next season they'll once again do the same thing. And that, you know, as much as I know a lot of people hate what the Sounders always being at this stage and always kind of just dominating the Western Conference, at the end of the day, if somebody eventually is going to trying to challenge in the Western Conference and build a decent squad, I think the Sounders are going to continue to definitely be one of the favorites heading into next season to getting back to the stage that they were in. And that, no doubt, for the Columbus Crew, you know, they definitely are going to enjoy this throughout the night, but obviously heading into next season, they're looking to try to continue to challenge, and that there's no doubt that Columbus is going to face even more tougher tasks, because I know in the Eastern Conference there's going to be a lot of teams that is going to get much better heading into next season. But yeah, there you have it. That again is pretty much it for the review of this video, and that's pretty much it in terms of review of this season in MLS, as the 25th season, after what it has just been such a rocky season. And there was even times where I didn't think we were going to get to this point, where I was actually going to be saying that we were going to award an MLS Cup champion. We finally got to that stage today, and that, you know, technically the soccer isn't over. Even the off season have now begun in MLS, because CONCACAF Champions League actually starts on Wednesday, and I'm actually going to do the review of those games too, because, you know, since now MLS is over, and since there are still some MLS team involved in that, I obviously will going to continue to do the review of those videos. But at least that's pretty much wraps up another season of MLS in the books, and I can't wait to see how next season is going to play. And obviously there's definitely a lot of question of when exactly next season is going to be. I know there's been a lot of rumors around that they might potentially start the season on time in March, but obviously the reason why maybe they probably won't do it is because I don't think next season they can once again do something similar to what happened this season, where they're just not going to have a lot of fans in attendance, and that for most of the stadium they only for most of the stadium they only have limited capacity, and that there's going to be some stadium where they're not even have any capacity whatsoever, because, you know, MLS, they lost a lot of money this season, like over $1 billion this season, and the only reason why the league is still staying afloat is because of the expansion fee that they have got for the past couple of years. But, you know, heading into next season, I think the league might think about pushing things back, because they really want stadium to start opening up with close to full capacity heading into next year, knowing the fact that MLS really relies on its match day revenue. And I think out of all the other professional league in the US, MLS really is the one that is probably the heaviest rely on match day revenue compared to them. But we shall see when the season is going to start once again. And again, during the off season, I'm going to continue to do my usual thing, where I'm going to do 2 news of the day per, or 2 news of the week video per week. And I also will once again come back to doing the throwback series that I've been doing when the season was on a pause, and also I'm gonna continue to do the moving forward series. I know I kind of put that moving forward series on a little bit of a halt because of the fact that there was some interesting video that I want to make for the past couple of weeks, and I basically just pushed back the moving forward series for the past couple of days. But I think I'm gonna once again start that moving forward series starting in next week, and then we're just gonna continue all the way until we finish the last episode, which is talk about the Columbus Crew and what they're going to do now that they win MLS Cup, and moving forward how they're going to look heading into next season. But yeah, until then, hope you guys enjoy this video, and I will see you guys next time.